The entire palace was in a state of restless commotion. Servants scurried in every direction, each one consumed by their task. Every moment had to be flawless. There was no room for error. A single mistake could cost them their lives, for the king was merciless when it came to imperfection. The mere sight of his eyes turning red was a silent death sentence. In one corner of the grand hall, several attendants were scrubbing the king's private chambers, polishing every inch until it gleamed. Others were preparing for royal bath, filling it with water at the perfect temperature. The king tolerated nothing less than perfection, and they worked with trembling hands, knowing their fates rested on his mood. Moments later, the heavy sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the marble corridors. The massive gates opened, and the king himself entered. Instantly, every person in the hall dropped into a low bow, their heads bowed, breaths held. Jungkook. The most feared alpha in the long lineage of rulers, his reign was the most ruthless of them all. His life had no room for tenderness or love. His existence was formed in discipline, order, and absolute control. A maid dared to step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maid, your majesty, your meal is prepared. Shall you bath first? The water has been made ready for you." Jungkook gave a silent nod, his sharp gaze sweeping over the room, inspecting every corner. Without a word, he walked past them and disappeared into his private quarters. Only then the servants released the breath they had been holding, relieved that he had found no fault today. His royal companions seated at the grand dining table exchanged quiet glances. Jimin sighed heavily. "Jimin, he's growing colder day by day," he murmured. They leaned back slightly, lowering his voice. How could he not? Compassion isn't something he knows. He's still without a maid. If he had one, perhaps he would not be this way. Jimin, friend, Jimin, it's been years, so many years, and still no one. Are we even sure his mate exists? The sound of measured footsteps silenced them. They shouted, "He's coming," he hissed. Both Jimin and Tae straightened instantly. They were beaters, Jungkook's most trusted friends and advisors. They had grown up together, but the moment Jungkook claimed his alpha title, his demeanor shifted. When he turned 18 and failed to find his destined mate like the others, he had only grown harder, more unyielding. Now, mercy had no place in his heart. Still, the entire kingdom clung to a single fragile hope that one day the king's mate would appear, bringing light into his cold, relentless life. Jungkook entered the dining hall, his presence casting a heavy silence over the room. The two waiters sat motionless, pretending they had not been speaking. They began their meal in silence. Jungkook's deep voice finally broke the silence. "Jungkook, tomorrow night there will be no patrols from us. Inform the soldiers, they will handle the watch." "Jimin, yes, Majesty," Jimin replied. No further words exchanged. When Jungkook finished eating, he rose without looking back and strode out, returning to the solitude of his chambers. When hurried to finish her course before slipping quietly into her small chamber. She and her mother both worked in the royal palace, serving under the lowest rank in the hierarchy Omegas. Her mother shot her sharp look as she entered. "Once, Mom. Why, don't you wander too close to the king," she warned. "You are always making careless mistakes. If you slip up in front of him, he will hand down a punishment you will never forget." One groaned, flopping down onto her bed. "Why, oh mother, give it a rest. Tomorrow is my 18th birthday. Tomorrow I will find my mate. Just thinking about it makes me so excited." Her mother smiled faintly. "Once, Mom, yes, I can tell, but are you planning to sleep tonight or just grin until morning?" "When I will sleep," she laughed. "Good night then." They both drifted off, unaware of how drastically one's life would change when dawn came. Morning light spilled over the palace walls. The King Jungkook had left on royal business, which meant the servants could finally work without trembling under his pressing gaze. He would not return until midday. One's heart was light. Today was her 18th birthday, a day when Omegas were allowed to leave the palace grounds to search for their destined mate. Spent the entire day exploring the markets, walking through sunlit paths, visiting the quiet forest glades. But no matter where she went, her maid was nowhere to be found. Yona, does this mean we don't have one? Yona, her wolf spirit murmured inside her mind. One sighed, "Fine, be quiet. I am already upset enough. I dreamed about this day for years, and now, Yona, I feel bad," she whispered. "Why, you are not the only one," she replied, mood sync. As she wandered aimlessly, she stumbled upon a familiar face, Bora. "Wyan," Bora called out, hurrying over. "What are you doing here? Did you find your mate?" Wyan shook her head. "Wyan, no, not yet," Bora gasped. "Bora, seriously, you should have found them by now." Wyan gave a faint smile. "Wyan, and you?" Bora beamed. "Bora, yes, and you won't believe it. He's so powerful, so handsome. I never imagined my mate would be like this. We're already met, and he said he will see me again tomorrow." Wyan, "Oh, that's great," she managed, forcing a smile. "I should get going." She walked away quickly, her heart heavy with disappointment. By the time she returned to the palace grounds, the day had faded into dusk. She had no interest in speaking to anyone. Along the way, she tripped over a jagged stone, tearing the skin on her foot, but the ache in her chest was far worse than the sting in her heel. She didn't even bother to tend to it. Instead of returning to her chamber, she wandered to the quiet pond at the edge of the palace gardens. The moon reflected in the still water as the night settled in. She sat there in silence, knees drawn on her chest, staring into the rippling surface. Her mother didn't come looking for her. Perhaps she assumed Wine had found her mate and was spending the evening with him, but Wine was alone, and she had no idea her life was about to turn upside down. Jungkook lay in his chamber trying to rest after a long day, but then it hit him, a scent, sweet, irresistible, unlike anything he had ever breathed in before. It crawled through his senses like silk, settling his pulse racing. Instead his wolf Leo stared violently. "Mate." The single word rang through Jungkook's mind, sharp and undeniable. His chest tightened. This was his mate's scent. Leo shirked forward, desperate to take control to their shared body. Jungkook gritted his teeth, resisting. "Not now. If my mate sees my alpha from without warning, they will be terrified." But the pull was relentless. The scent was stronger in every breath, each step striking him toward it. Following the intoxicating tail, Jungkook crossed the palace ground and soon found himself at the pond, its surface silvered by moonlight. There, sitting along by the water's edge, was a girl. His soft humming floated through the night air, brushing against him like a caress. The sound alone made his old restless hungry. He took a step forward. White turned at the sound of approaching footsteps. Under the glow of the moon, his features became clear, tall, powerful, the very image of dominant alpha. By the time she saw him, Leo had already seized control. His eyes burned with feral hate. White froze, fear shooting through her. She scrambled to her feet. Instead, her mind, her wolf, Iona, whispered urgently, "Maid." "Why, no," she thought, shaking her head. She refused to give in. Jungkook advanced slowly, his every step deliberate. Iona tried to surface, to take over one's body, but she fought it back, refusing to submit. Her fear only grew. Jungkook's massive presence, his unrestrained alpha aura, it was overwhelming. She turned to run, but in her panic, her foot scocked on a stone, sending her crashing to the ground. Pain shot through her ankle, but before she could scramble away, Jungkook was already closing the distance. Her vision blurred, his deep, rumbling growls filled her ears. Then darkness, she fainted. Jungkook crouched beside her, inhaling deeply. The scent, his mid-scent, was maddening. He noticed her foot was bleeding. With a low growl, he leaned down, licking the wound clean, sealing it with his instinctive care of a wolf. Then, without hesitation, he lifted her into his bag and carried her to his chamber. Jungkook, Leo, let go, he commanded in his mind. Give me control, Leo, I can't. Leo snarled. My body ashes, Jungkook. Do you understand? After all these years, we have finally found her. I don't care what she is like. I need her with me. Jungkook pushed back, his will clashing into his wolf's. Jungkook, she's terrified. If you don't release me, you will ruin everything. It took a long, heated struggle, but eventually Leo relented, allowing Jungkook to take human form again. Jungkook gazed down at her. She was delicate, her features soft, even in sleep. He could sense it. She was an omega. His stomach twisted. An alpha's made, an omega, so fragile, so easily broken. How could someone like her possibly stand beside me? How could she ever rule this kingdom with me? The thought was unacceptable, and yet the bond tugged at him with unrelenting force. Leo's voice pressed into his mind again, low and insistent. Leo, accept her. Jungkook clenched his jaw. No, the conflict was unendurable. In the end, he turned sharply, storming out of the chamber, his frustration echoing through the palace halls. By morning, word spread. Every servant, every guard, every courtier knew the king had carried a young omega to his chambers in the middle of the night. Now the entire palace was whispering, and Jungkook still didn't know what the hell he was going to do. Morning light spilled softly into the room when Wan's eyes flustered open. Her head felt heavy, her memories from the night before blurred and broken. She blinked, realizing she was in her own bed. The chamber was familiar, her own, and sitting beside her, worry etched on every line of her face, was her mother. Seeing her awake, her mother quickly poured a cup of water and held it out. Once, Mom, here, drink. Wan took it, the cool liquid smoothing her dry throat. Bits and pieces from last night swirled in her mind. Moonlight, the pond, a pair of fierce eyes, and the word that had echoed inside her, mate. She frowned. Why, how did I get home? I was outside. Her mother hesitated. She knew the truth. The entire palace knew. Jungkook and Wan had found each other. They were mates, but Jungkook had sent Wan back to her room at dawn, without a word, without a glance. That could only mean one thing. He had rejected her, and if one knew, it would break her. So her mother lied. Once Mom Eckert saw you faint by the pond. He brought you home. One opened her mouth to speak, but voices called her mother from outside. With a last soft glance, her mother rose and left. Wine lay back against the pillows, trying to piece together her memories. Inside, she reached out to her wolf. Wine, Ivana, silence, Ivana, talk to me. Still nothing. Once chest tightened, Yuna was angry. Her mind replayed the moment again and again. She had seen him, her mate. She knew it is in her bones, and yet something was wrong. In another wing of the palace, Jungkook sat in the grand sitting room. Jimin and Tae flanked him, both silent at first. The air was heavy with what they all knew. Finally Jungkook spoke, his voice low, troubled. Jungkook, the Luna of this kingdom and Omega, do you understand how fragile that is? If something happened to me, how would she rule? How would she protect the realm? Jimin's expression was calm but firm. Jimin, if the moon goddess has chosen her majesty, then there is nothing to be done. You should accept her. They leaned forward. You have already met your mate. Do you really think you will be as strong without her? Rejecting her could weaken you in ways you can't see. Jungkook's jaw tightened. Jungkook, last night it took everything I had to hold Leo back. I don't know what to do, but I can't go on like this. Jimin's gaze sharpened. Jimin, then think carefully before you decide. Remember, this kingdom could fall if you make the wrong choice. Jungkook said nothing, staring into the distance, the weight of the decision pressing heavily against his chest. Days slipped by in silence. Yuna still refused to speak to Ryan. The absence of her wolf felt like a hole inside her chest, a loneliness that no amount of work could fill. She kept herself busy, moving through the palace quietly, avoiding attention. Yet she noticed the way everyone looked at her, careful, cautious. No one let her take on any task, no one explained why. She had no idea that everyone already knew the truth. She was Jungkook's maid and the king had not accepted her. Still, out of respect for the maid bond, no one dared to openly mistreat her. Across the palace, Jungkook was growing weaker. His wolf Leo was no longer as powerful as before. His strength fluttered, his work suffered, and he spent more time in brooding silence. Illness clung to him, the concern spread among his people. That night, Wine didn't return to her chambers. Instead, she sat alone in the moonlit garden, the silver light spilling over flowers and stone paths. Then, without warning, pain ripped through her body. She gasped, clutching at herself, her breath coming in short, desperate bursts. Heat surged under his skin, spreading like fire through her veins. Her muscles trembled, her head spun. What's happening to me? Suddenly, Yona's voice broke the silence inside her mind. Yona, our body is in heat. We need our maid. Wine's heart pounded. Wine, I don't know what to do. The pain only grew sharper, draining tears from her eyes. Across the palace, a sweet, intoxicating scent filled the air. Every wolf in the territory could sense it, pure, irresistible. Jungkook lay in his bed, weak and feverish, until the scent hit him. His eyes snapped open, his breath caught. He knew the fragrance instantly. Vian. Leo, our maid is in pain. Go to her now, or I will take control. Jungkook didn't even bother arguing this time. His body moved before his mind could catch up, his instincts pulling him through the corridors at a run. He found her in the garden, doubled over in agony. The scent had drawn others too. Wolves lingered in the shadows, their eyes glinting in the moonlight. A girl ripped from Jungkook's throat, his eyes blazing red. The intruders froze, then vanished into the darkness. In two strides, Jungkook was at her side, scooping her into his arms. He carried her swiftly back to his chambers, laying her gently on the bed. Wine skins burned under his hands, her face glistened under the lamplight, her cheeks flushed red. She writhed in pain, her beat squeaked and slow. Wine, please make it stop, she whispered weakly, tears spilling down her temples. Jungkook's jaw tightened. Jungkook, it's alright, the pain will fade soon. But watching her suffer was unbearable. He leaned down, capturing her lips with his, and she kissed him back through the tears. The heat of her skin, the sound of her breath, he could not resist. His lips trailed down her neck before his teeth sank into her skin, marking her as his. One cried out, her body arching at the sharp, burning pain. Jungkook knew she wasn't strong enough to bear it easily. If she were an alpha, it would have been different, but there was no other way. He pulled her close, murmuring against her skin, stroking her hair, his hand gently as he kissed her again to ease her pain. Slowly her soft softened, blood from the mark stained her skin, but the bond between them now burned, bright and unbreakable. Inside their minds, Leo and Yona's voice trust for the first time. Leo, let me take control now. Jungkook, she is fragile. Leo, she is my mate too. I will never hurt her. Jungkook, whatever. Leo surged forward, taking full control. His form shimmered, bones shifting, fur spilling, until the great wolf stood where Jungkook had been. One shifted to Yuna coming forward in a rush of silver fur, and under the moonlight their wolves met. The night was long, and the bond was sealed in every way of Moon Goddess' intent. Morning light, the first rays of dawn crept into the room, gently waking Wine from deep slumber. Her eyes fluttered open, and the first thing she saw was Jungkook lying beside her, every muscle in her body ached. Even the thought of sitting up felt impossible. She shifted slightly, and movement stirred Jungkook from his own sleep. His gaze immediately fell on her. Jungkook's eyes softened as he noticed the faint marks skirted across her skin, marks he had left. She wasn't wearing anything, and the sudden realization made Wine's heart race. Her face burned crimson as she quickly pulled the blanket over herself, hiding the evidence from the night they had shared. Memories from those hours flashed in her mind, leaving her breathless and shy. Jungkook too recalled the night before. His own ears turned red, and for a moment neither of them knew what to say. One could not meet his eyes, but in the depth of their minds their wolves were already speaking. Leo, good morning, love. Still sore all over. Yona, yes, it still hurts. Leo, it should not hurt so much now. Yona, it's your fault. Leo, of course it is. I am powerful. It's only natural. Yona, shut up. Go away. Leo, not a chance. Their playful bickering echoed in both Jungkook's and Wine's mind, making them blush even more. Jungkook finally decided to break the silence between them. Things had changed. There was no going back. He reached out, gently touching the spot on her neck, where his marks now rested. Wine's flinched at the sudden contact. Jungkook, does it still hurt? He said softly. Wine aloud, she admitted. Jungkook, I will send for the healer, he said. They will give you something for the pain. It will ease in a few days. For now, we need to bath. Wine's eyes widened. Wine, I don't have the strength to stand. Jungkook, I will help you. Before she could protest, Jungkook scooped her into his arms. She instinctively buried her face against his chest, her cheeks burning hot. Jungkook chuckled at her reaction, but he held her carefully as he carried her into the bath. A few days later, time passed and the pain faded. The tension between them dissolved, replaced by a quiet understanding. Jungkook had fully accepted Wine, not just as his mate, but as his Luna. The kingdom too embraced her with open arms. Peace and joy settled over the land, and for the first time, Wine felt like she truly belonged.